Star Wars has this incredible ability to create characters that either become your absolute favorite person in the galaxy, or make you want to throw your remote through the TV screen. Some characters earn a permanent place in our hearts, while others get roasted harder than Anakin on Mustafar. So drop a like and subscribe, and let's break down the most loved versus most hated Star Wars characters that have split the fan base like a lightsaber through butter. Qui-Gon Jinn. Qui-Gon represents everything the Jedi Order could have been if they hadn't gotten lost in their own bureaucracy. This maverick master follows the Force instead of council politics, and fans absolutely love him for it. He actually listens to what the universe is telling him, instead of blindly following rules that clearly aren't working anymore. His willingness to challenge the Jedi establishment makes him feel like the most human Jedi we ever meet. When he tells Obi Wan to focus on the living Force instead of council drama, you can feel the wisdom in those words. He sees potential in a slave boy when the entire council sees only danger. Many fans believe if Qui-Gon had survived to train Anakin, the whole galaxy would have been saved. He would have been the father figure Anakin desperately needed. Someone who understood that emotions aren't evil, it's what you do with them that matters. His death represents one of the biggest what-if moments in Star Wars. Jar Jar Binks. Poor Jar Jar stumbled into cinemas and immediately face-planted into fan hatred. He bounces through the Phantom Menace with floppy ears flapping and that Misa so clumsy routine that turned serious Jedi business into what felt like a kid's cartoon. Fans showed up expecting epic space battles and got a Gungan stepping in Bantha Poodoo for 2 hours straight. The backlash against Ahmed Best was brutal. Death threats, career destruction, the whole nightmare. Newer fans might not realize just how intense the Jar Jar hate was back in '99. Kids might giggle at his antics, but mention Yusa in Big Doo-Doo to any longtime fan and watch them physically cringe. Jar Jar became the symbol of everything wrong with the prequels, with some thinking it was Lucas losing touch with what made Star Wars special. Instead of that lived-in, gritty universe we loved, we got cartoon slapstick interrupting scenes about galactic politics. Thankfully, Best has found redemption in recent years with his return to Star Wars and The Mandalorian, but the damage from that initial backlash lasted decades. Darth Maul. One glimpse of those yellow eyes and that double-bladed lightsaber igniting, and you know someone's about to have a very bad day. Maul might have gotten chopped in half in Phantom Menace, but that was just the beginning of one of the most incredible character arcs in Star Wars history. What started as a silent, menacing assassin evolved into something far more complex through Clone Wars and Rebels. Maul's burning hatred for Obi-Wan becomes this twisted obsession that drives him across decades. But it's his tragic fall from Sith apprentice to broken, desperate survivor that makes him fascinating. His voice work by Sam Witwer brings layers of pain, rage, and surprising vulnerability to a character who could have stayed a one-dimensional villain. His final confrontation with Obi-Wan in Rebels is pure poetry. Two old enemies meeting one last time in the desert. Their brief lightsaber exchange lasting mere seconds, but carrying the weight of their entire history. When Obi-Wan holds the dying Maul and tells him Luke will avenge them both, it's genuinely heartbreaking. The fact that Disney's developing new content around him shows just how much this dead villain captured fans' hearts through sheer force of character development. General Grievous. Unlike Maul, Grievous represents one of the most frustrating wastes of potential in Star Wars history. In the old expanded universe, this cyborg was an absolute nightmare. Brilliant strategist who collected lightsabers from Jedi he personally killed. Someone who could take on multiple masters and win. Then the movies turned him into a wheezing coward who runs from every real fight. The 2003 Clone Wars cartoon showed what Grievous could have been. Relentless killing machine who captured Palpatine and left dead Jedi everywhere. But Revenge of the Sith transformed him into an asthmatic villain who spins lightsabers like a carnival ride and gets taken down by a blaster shot. The mighty Jedi killer became a joke who coughs more than he fights. Fans hate what Grievous became because they remember what he was supposed to be. Instead of a terrifying cyborg general, we got a Saturday morning cartoon villain who talks big then folds when things get serious. His cowardly retreats and constant wheezing turned him into a meme instead of a menace. Hondo Ohnaka. This smooth-talking pirate somehow charmed his way from Clone Wars villain to fan-favorite anti-hero, and honestly, it's not hard to see why. Hondo operates by his own twisted code of honor. He'll betray you in a heartbeat if the price is right, but he'll do it with such style and wit that you can't help but respect the hustle. What makes fans adore Hondo is his unpredictability wrapped in roguish charm. One episode he's holding Jedi hostage for ransom. The next he's reluctantly helping them escape because it's profitable. His relationship with Obi-Wan is pure gold. They're enemies who genuinely respect each other, trading barbs and blaster fire with equal enthusiasm. When Hondo calls Kenobi "my dear Jedi friend" while literally pointing a weapon at him, you believe both the affection and the threat. His appearances in Bad Batch and Rebels show him evolving from petty pirate to reluctant hero, but he never loses that mercenary edge that makes him so entertaining. Disney even gave him his own ride experience on the Millennium Falcon at Galaxy's Edge. When a pirate gets his own theme park attraction, you know he's made it. Hondo proves that sometimes the best characters are the ones you can never quite trust, but always want to see more of. Mace Wendu. Mace should have been the coolest Jedi ever. Purple lightsaber, Samuel L. Jackson's presence, unique fighting style. Instead, fans see him as everything wrong with the prequel Jedi. Rigid, arrogant, and the guy who pushed Anakin toward the dark side. His treatment of Anakin feels unnecessarily harsh from day one. 9-year-old Anakin gets brought before the council, and Windu's immediate response is, he will not be trained. No compassion, no understanding for this scared kid ripped away from his mother. Even after Anakin proves himself repeatedly, Windu keeps treating him with suspicion and contempt. The man can't even be bothered to use Anakin's first name. It's always Skywalker, delivered with barely concealed disdain, like he's addressing some disappointing subordinate instead of a fellow Jedi. The moment that seals fan hatred comes when Windu decides to execute Palpatine without a trial. After 3 movies of preaching about justice, he abandons his principles when it's convenient. From Anakin's perspective, Windu becomes exactly what the Jedi claim to oppose. Someone using power to make life and death decisions without accountability. That cold, hypocritical treatment pushes Anakin over the edge and dooms the entire galaxy. Ahsoka Tano. Ahsoka burst onto screens as Anakin's snippy teenage Padawan and somehow became one of the most beloved characters in the franchise. She starts as this cocky kid calling Anakin Sky Guy and breaking every Jedi rule, but her growth throughout Clone Wars is absolutely masterful. Fans love watching her evolve from impulsive teenager into wise, independent warrior who chooses her own path. When she walks away from the Jedi Order after being falsely accused and abandoned by the Council, it breaks hearts across the fanbase. But it shows incredible strength, refusing to let a broken system define her worth. Her return in Rebels, facing Vader knowing he was once her beloved master, gives us one of the most emotionally devastating moments in Star Wars. The way she says Anakin when his voice briefly breaks through Vader's mask? Pure heartbreak. She represents what the Jedi could have been, proving true strength comes from following your conscience.
Won't leave you. Not this time.
Her own Disney Plus series only cemented that love even more, bringing back Thrawn and searching for Ezra while training a new generation. With Season 2 on the horizon, fans can't wait to see where her story goes next. Ahsoka proves that sometimes the best characters are the ones who outgrow their origins and forge their own legendary path. Pong Krell. Want to trigger Clone Wars fans instantly? Just say Pong Krell. The 4-armed nightmare of Umbara who sent clones to die, treated them like scrap, and turned them against each other just to feed his ego. The hatred for this character runs deep because by this point, viewers are fully invested in Rex and the rest of the 501 boys. They're not faceless soldiers anymore. We've watched them grow, build friendships, and prove their humanity one mission at a time. So when Krell's betrayal is finally exposed, the collective satisfaction at his downfall is overwhelming. And the irony? He's not even some genius tactician. Just a bully with fancy lightsabers who underestimates the very men he commands. In the end, the clones outthink him, outmaneuver him, and deliver poetic justice. Grogu. Baby Yoda broke the internet before we even knew his real name, becoming a marketing goldmine that transcended Star Wars itself. This little green guy is pure genius in character design. Cute enough to sell millions of plushies, but packing enough force power to ragdoll a mudhorn. One second he's sipping soup like any toddler. The next, he's casually saving everyone with telekinesis that would make Yoda jealous. Families who hadn't touched Star Wars in years suddenly found themselves subscribing to Disney Plus just to see what the child would do next. Grogu works because he's everything Jar Jar wasn't. No annoying voice, no forced comedy, just pure emotional connection through those expressive eyes. Sometimes the most powerful characters never say a word. Ziro the Hutt. Ziro the Hutt is pretty much a complete 180 from Grogu. This Hutt slithered into the Clone Wars movie and immediately became one of the most grating villains in Star Wars history. This flamboyant uncle of Jabba somehow managed to make fans nostalgic for the days when Hutts were silent, imposing crime lords instead of whatever this disaster was supposed to be. What makes Ziro so insufferable is his complete incompetence wrapped in unearned arrogance. He gets by purely through help from more impressive villains, but never seems remotely humbled by his constant failures. While Jabba commanded respect through quiet menace and calculated cruelty, Ziro prances around making grand proclamations while accomplishing absolutely nothing on his own. Dedra Meero. Dedra from Andor gives us something Star Wars rarely delivers: a genuinely terrifying Imperial who's also fascinating to watch. This ISB supervisor combines ruthless intelligence with total dedication to the Empire, creating a villain who's completely detestable but oddly compelling. Fans love her because she's brilliantly written and performed. Dedra is actually competent at her job, making her infinitely more dangerous than the bumbling Imperials we usually see. She connects dots others miss, asks the right questions, slowly tightening the noose around our heroes. Watching her work was enjoyable to say the least. You might hate what she's doing, but can't help admiring the skill. Her interrogation scenes are genuinely unsettling because she's not sadistic for fun. She's coldly professional about extracting information. That clinical brutality makes her scarier than any Sith throwing lightning around. Dedra represents the Empire at its most realistic and terrifying. Syril Karn. Syril represents everything fans hate about bureaucratic villains who think they're heroes. This uptight corporate security officer struts around in his perfectly pressed uniform with an inflated sense of importance, convinced he's bringing order when he's really just another fascist cog. What makes him particularly grating is his desperate need for validation. He's not evil in the fun, theatrical way. He's pathetically mundane, like that middle manager who takes his tiny authority way too seriously. His obsession with catching Cassian feels less like justice, and more like proving he matters in a universe that couldn't care less. Fans hate Syril because he's uncomfortably realistic. We've all met someone like him, the petty authority figure making everyone's life harder because they need to feel important. Cassian Andor. Cassian Andor walked into Rogue One and immediately redefined what a Star Wars hero could be. Turns out sometimes they're stone-cold killers who sleep just fine at night. This rebel spy doesn't mess around with stunning enemies or dramatic lightsaber duels. He just straight up executes people when the mission demands it, then moves on like it's another Tuesday. What makes fans absolutely love Cassian is how he owns the moral complexity of rebellion. While other heroes agonize over doing the right thing, Cassian already made peace with being the bad guy for a good cause. He'll murder Imperial informants without blinking, then turn around and risk everything to save a droid he barely knows. That contradiction makes him fascinating instead of just terrifying. His Andor series turned that fascination into full-blown obsession by showing us how an ordinary guy becomes a professional revolutionary assassin. Watching him transform from reluctant participant to true believer who'll torture information out of enemies feels completely earned. Diego Luna brings such quiet menace that you genuinely believe this soft-spoken man could kill you with his bare hands, then feel genuinely bad about it afterward. He's the hero we probably don't deserve, but definitely need. Rey Palpatine. Rey sparked more fan arguments than any character since Jar Jar, and that's really saying something. She starts strong in Force Awakens, tough scavenger who can handle herself. But then the sequel trilogy happened, and many fans felt like she became overpowered way too fast, mastering abilities that took Luke years to figure out. The Mary Sue complaints flew faster than the Millennium Falcon. She beats Kylo Ren in their first lightsaber fight, despite never holding one before. Mind tricks without training. lifting massive rocks after a few lessons from grumpy Luke. Fans who grew up watching Luke get his hand chopped off felt like Rey's journey was way too easy. Then Rise of Skywalker drops the bombshell. She's Palpatine's granddaughter. Instead of proving anyone can be special, she becomes another chosen one with magic bloodlines. It felt like the writers were making stuff up as they went, and fans could smell the desperation from space. Shin Hati. Shin Hati from the Ahsoka series represents everything fans want from new Star Wars characters. Mysterious, complex, genuinely intriguing without being overpowered or underdeveloped. This former Jedi apprentice turned dark side warrior brings fresh energy that feels both familiar and completely new. Fans love Shin's subtle performance and layered characterization. She's clearly struggling with her path, caught between loyalty to Baylan Skoll and her own moral compass. Unlike other Darksiders who are either cartoonishly evil or angst-ridden teens, Shin feels like a real person making difficult choices in impossible circumstances. Her lightsaber skills are impressive without being ridiculous, and her interactions reveal depth and intelligence. She's not just another apprentice following orders, she's figuring out her place in a galaxy that's moved beyond simple light versus dark. Shin represents the future of Star Wars storytelling. Poe Dameron. Poe should have been the Han Solo of the sequel trilogy. Charismatic pilot with roguish charm and natural leadership. Instead, fans see a reckless hothead whose poor decisions get people killed and whose character makes no sense from movie to movie. The Last Jedi turns him into a trigger-happy maverick who disobeys orders and gets the entire Resistance bomber fleet destroyed for one Star Destroyer. His mutiny against Holdo feels less like heroic rebellion and more like he can't handle taking orders from a woman, so he stages a coup that nearly dooms everyone. Then Rise of Skywalker introduces lightspeed skipping, possibly the dumbest concept in Star Wars history. Poe somehow jumps through hyperspace multiple times rapidly, breaking every established rule about how hyperspace works. Why didn't anyone think of this before? The scene exists purely for spectacle but destroys the universe's internal logic. Obi Wan Kenobi. From sassy Padawan to ultimate desert hermit, Obi-Wan remains the beating heart of Star Wars across every generation. He evolves beautifully through each era while maintaining that perfect blend of wisdom and bone-dry humor that makes him impossible not to love. The man delivers hello there to a four-armed cyborg general like he's greeting an old friend at a coffee shop. His so uncivilized after blasting Grievous perfectly captures his character. Reluctantly practical but never losing his principles. When hope seems thinnest, Obi-Wan keeps pushing forward with quiet determination, even after losing everything he cared about. He watches his apprentice become a monster, sees the Jedi Order destroyed, spends decades in exile protecting a kid who doesn't even know he exists, and never once loses that gentle compassion that defines him. Fans adore him because he represents the best of what Jedi could be. Not preachy or rigid like council members, he bends rules when compassion demands it, but never breaks his core beliefs. Whether he's negotiating with crime lords, mentoring chosen ones, or facing down Sith lords, Ben Kenobi maintains that perfect balance of strength and kindness that makes him the mentor everyone wishes they had. His sacrifice aboard the Death Star hits differently every time, choosing to become something greater, giving Luke and Leia their chance to escape. That's pure Obi-Wan right there, and always putting others first, even in his final moment. General Hux. General Hux should have been the next Grand Moff Tarkin, commanding, ruthless, genuinely threatening. Instead, fans got a whiny officer who throws tantrums whenever things don't go his way.
Hugs?
He can.
With an H? Skinny guy? Kind of pasty?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
His slicked-back red hair and perfectly pressed uniform scream, trying too hard, like he's cosplaying as an Imperial commander at a convention. The Force Awakens sets him up as this intimidating First Order leader with his Starkiller base speech, but then The Last Jedi immediately turns him into comic relief. Poe Dameron completely humiliates him with that prank call routine, Kylo Ren chokes him out, and Snoke literally drags him across the floor like a rag doll. Any intimidation factor gets completely destroyed in favor of cheap laughs. By the rise of Skywalker, he's
I'm
reduced
the
to
spy.
I'm the spy, betraying his own cause not out of conscience or growth, but pure spite because he can't stand Kylo Ren. Fans dislike Hux because he represents wasted potential and inconsistent writing. He goes from menacing zealot to bumbling comic relief to petty traitor with no logical progression. Instead of a commanding villain, we got an insecure bureaucrat who somehow convinced an entire military to take him seriously. Captain Rex. Captain Rex stepped into the Clone Wars as just another clone trooper, and somehow became the beating heart of the entire series. This gruff veteran with his distinctive blue markings and dual pistols proved that identical genetics don't make identical people, and fans absolutely adore him for it. What makes Rex so beloved is watching him evolve from loyal Republic soldier to someone who questions everything he was programmed to believe. He follows orders like a good trooper, but when those orders conflict with doing what's right, Rex chooses his conscience every time. His relationship with Ahsoka is pure magic. The seasoned commander and the cocky Padawan teaching each other what it really means to fight for something bigger than yourself. Rex treats his clone brothers like actual family instead of expendable assets, which makes every loss hit that much harder. When he removes his inhibitor chip and refuses to execute Order 66, it's one of the most triumphant moments in Star Wars history. Seeing the old vet again in Bad Batch after parting ways with Ahsoka, still fighting the good fight and helping his brothers, just reinforced why fans love this guy so much. His survival through the Clone Wars, Rebels, and all the way to the Battle of Endor proves that the best heroes are often the ones who just refuse to quit fighting for what's right. Grumpy Luke Skywalker. When The Last Jedi happened, fans watched their childhood hero become a bitter hermit who gave up on everything he once stood for. This Luke threw his father's lightsaber over his shoulder like garbage, cut himself off from the Force, and spent years hiding on an island while the galaxy burned around him. The guy who once believed Darth Vader could be redeemed seriously considered murdering his sleeping nephew over a bad dream. Luke Skywalker, the ultimate optimist who saw good in everyone, became so paranoid he almost killed Ben Solo in his sleep. That character assassination felt like a betrayal to fans who grew up believing in Luke's unwavering hope. And don't even get started on the green milk scene. Watching Luke aggressively chug alien milk while staring down Rey became an instant meme for all the wrong reasons. It's like Rian Johnson looked at the most beloved hero in cinema history and thought, you know what this character needs? Weird milk drinking scenes that make everyone uncomfortable. Sure, his final Force projection was visually impressive, but it came after 2 hours of watching him act like a completely different person. Many fans felt like Rian Johnson fundamentally misunderstood what made Luke special, turning the galaxy's greatest symbol of hope into a cynical old man who needed convincing to care about anything. Young Luke Skywalker. From whiny farm boy staring at twin suns to legendary Jedi Master, young Luke's journey resonates because it starts so incredibly ordinary. Chores, dreams he never acts on, complaints about everything, basically every teenager who ever lived. Then the galaxy comes calling, and we watch this kid transform through pure determination and unshakable belief in redemption. His victories don't come from superior skills or raw power. Luke often faces stronger, more experienced enemies. His strength lies in that stubborn refusal to give up on people when everyone else has written them off. Every choice to save his father comes from genuine love and faith, not arrogance or some messiah complex. Luke works because he earns every victory through struggle and failure. He gets his hand chopped off, gets beat up by a Wampa, gets electrocuted by Palpatine, and let's not forget that he witnessed Obi Wan's death. But he keeps getting back up, keeps believing in something better. That farm boy who dreamed of adventure becomes the guy who redeems Darth Vader through pure compassion. Luke proves that heroes aren't born. They're forged through failure, hope, and the crazy belief that even the darkest soul can find its way back to the light. That's why we love him, and that's why his story will never get old. These characters stick with us because they tap into something universal. Whether it's Jar Jar's annoying stumbles or Vader's iconic presence, each leaves an impression lasting long after credits roll. The strongest reactions come when characters either perfectly fulfill our expectations or subvert them in authentic ways. That's Star Wars magic. These fictional beings feel real enough that we argue about them like family and care about their choices like they actually matter. Every character, loved or hated, played their part in creating modern mythology that we're still discussing decades later. So, who's your favorite and least favorite Star Wars character? Did you agree with our list? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed the ride, hit that like button, subscribe, and stay tuned for more deep dives right here on Hyperwook. Thanks for watching, and as always, may the Force be with you.